What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. In today's video we are on the test server here today, so thank you Plarium for allowing us access to that, and we will be talking about the upcoming fusion coming September 30th on a Monday, which is pretty not normal, but this is probably Plarium trying to shoehorn in a an extra fusion in the month of October before the Halloween fusion. So it's going to be Brewguard Jeroboam. Sorry, I pronounced the last name not so good, but there he is. I'm going to call him Brewguard. But his kit was released a little bit early, I think 2 days early. I was leaked out by, I don't know, Plarium. Plarium made a mistake and people caught the image. And we speculated that it was the fusion, and then it was confirmed it was the fusion. Anyways, visually pretty cool. Looks like he had some barrels, been drinking a lot. He's got his meat, got his little sausages here. But yeah, basically just a real bro at the pub. He's gonna pour you some beers. He's got some cups on his head. Yeah, cool stuff, right? Anyways, his kit, we're gonna go over his kit real quick here. He's got a double hit chance to reduce cooldown by 1 turn on each ally. It's actually pretty good. 50% chance. Double hit means 75% chance of at least something happening, which is pretty decent in terms of consistency. His A2 is a 3-turn cleanse for your whole team, which is solid. Also brings some additional benefits like a heal and a shield as well. So good support there. His A3 is probably the biggest part of criticism for his whole kit. The increased duration of enemy debuffs, and then the increased duration of ally buffs, and then a turn meter fill. But the problem is it's on a 4-turn cooldown, which is not necessarily the best. It should probably be on a 3-turn cooldown, given what it does. But overall, I think this is not like a massive part of his kit. It would have been interesting to see this skill be reworked into something else, a little bit more useful maybe. Maybe he can bring like some team buffs, for example, increase attack or increase or strengthen or increase defense or something like that, just to make him a little bit more versatile. This part, like the duration increase, is not super strong. Of course it's good, but it's not something you really want to build into his kit specifically. For example, like his kit doesn't require accuracy, but if you want this to work, you need accuracy in his kit. So it's kind of disjointed a little bit from the rest of his kit. Increased duration of all allied buffs is very good. We found some crazy ways to make that stuff do crazy things, of course. But on a 4-turn cooldown, it limits it quite a bit. So that's probably the biggest part of criticism for his kit. His passive is pretty good. He's immune to 50% of the turn meter effects. It also fills his turn meter whenever an ally gets hit with all this hard CC. And then he has an active effect that whenever the hard CC expires, he gets more turn meter. So it's decent because he has a nice passive effect. So basically, if your team gets constantly CC'd, he'll get constant like turn meter, and then you can get a cleanse off. That's kind of like the idea. And then the active effect, he gets more turn meter and so forth. It would have been cool if this active effect had no cooldown. It's only a 2-turn cooldown, but it would have been cool if it didn't have any, because it effectively just gives him like 20% turn meter every 2 turns, which is kind of not super impactful. But yeah, we're gonna go over some gameplay situations for him and see if he's actually worth the trouble for going for in terms of the fusion. His base stats here, I think, are pretty decent. He's 108 base speed, which is pretty quick. Good defense, like almost 1500 defense, which is very solid. And then he picks up some extra stats here for resistance and accuracy, just to help the build out for him a little bit easier. So let's jump into what kind of build I got him in and how we're gonna use him, and we'll check out some of the gameplay for him. All right, guys, so this is my Brewguard. I got him built in a Relentless plus a 1-turn Stone Skin build. I got him going relatively quickly. I don't have any accuracy on him, and he's basically just there to act as a cleanser. And I have Relentless on him because he's going to get lots of turns. Might as well give him more turns, and especially his A1 is actually really nice to use over and over again. So you actually don't feel bad about using his A1 over and over again, just to give your team some more turns and their more powerful abilities. Also, you get more cleanses back and so forth. So I kind of like Relentless on him. And of course, you can just use this to boost turn meter if you just have nothing else to do, for example. But I kind of like Relentless on him. I have him fully booked. I think he needs the books to be effective. You get the extra 15% on the cooldown reduction. You get the cooldown reduction on the cleanse, and then you get the debuff and cooldown reduction on his A3. I think he needs it, and the cooldown reduction on his passive as well. So books definitely needs it. Masteries, I actually don't have a master. You could theoretically not give him any masteries because he doesn't overly benefit from War Master because he only has a single hit ability. He doesn't need accuracy, really. He doesn't really need accuracy. He doesn't really need resistance. You don't really need to build him that. What he would maybe benefit from is maybe something like timely intervention. Like, so when your champion, you know, takes a big hit, it gives him a chance to come back and then maybe bring a heal and a shield. Honestly, you can probably skip the masteries on him and be totally fine. So he's basically usable as is. Of course, you can probably give him support tree masteries to give him more chances at his cleanse, at his turn meter stuff. You could also give him increased turn meter stuff. But he doesn't, I don't think he applies any buffs. He applies one shield. So he applies one shield. You could give him more turn meter stuff like increased turn meter when a buff cast expires. He doesn't cast any debuffs himself. But it'd probably come down to Cycle of Magic. And I mean, you could take, yeah, he doesn't land any debuffs himself. Lasting gifts for increased shield. Yeah, masteries, I don't think he's going to get massive value from masteries there. So definitely a skip for me. Total base stats here, we'll go over it real quick. 77k HP. I don't really have too much, you know, bonuses or anything going on for him. A little bit of Faction Guardians, you know, moderate amount of defense. He is defense based, which is kind of weird because his skill is based off of HP, for example, like his healing ability. So having him being defense based is kind of strange, but it is what it is. 309 base speed, no need for crit rate, crit damage, resistance, and accuracy. I think resistance maybe makes more sense because he doesn't protect himself from getting CC'd. He doesn't protect himself from getting CC'd. So he can get CC'd, but he'll gain turn meter to come out of it a little bit quicker. So if you gave him resistance, he could not be CC'd and it could save him that turn, right? It could save him that turn so that he could use the turn meter maybe so he can come back into his cleanse ability. So that's kind of another way to build him. You could give him resistance for whatever content he's doing. But overall, I think this is a pretty general build that works basically in PvE and PvP. All right, guys. So I think Brewguard actually has quite a bit of use in this dungeon, the event dungeon against Odin, because Odin does place stuns on your whole team quite frequently. It does give Brewguard quite a bit of turn meter. And of course, Brewguard can be the role of cleanser, 3-turn cleanser in this team. So he does bring a little bit of extra versatility and utility in this matchup. He also brings the extension of debuffs. So for example, if you have block buffs on Odin already, he can extend it, which can be really good. And then he does bring an accuracy aura, which does help with the accuracy requirement of this dungeon. So I just want to see, like, this isn't by any means a team that works fully, but I just want to show you guys how Brewguard actually performs in this dungeon. I think it's probably one of the spots where he's probably most useful. But yeah, we'll have a quick look here. We got Arman's doing the CC stuff, so he's going to control the waves, and then we're not going to use his sheep, for example. So after that, what do we got here? We got an extension. We got extension. Extension does require accuracy, so keep that in mind when you guys are building him out. We could go just for the turn meter boost here. So I think we will go just for the turn meter boost. And then we can go, we can go for a double hit for reduction. So we got a reduction there. And then we can go for the block buffs from Mr. Wukong. We can go boost again. Let's get Artak in there for some damage. And the HP burn will whittle down Odin slowly. So you can kind of see here that he got so much turn meter boost. He came out of it, came out of his stun turn, and then he's going to cleanse the whole team. The thing that might work for Brewguard, like I mentioned here, is that if you build him with resistance, he wouldn't get stunned, potentially. And then he can, you know, basically not miss his turn, for example. Here, we're probably just going to go with the A1. And then try to stay alive as much, you know, try to stay alive and let the HP burn do its business. Wukong's really good here because it actually just soaks up the damage here. From the Turvol, which is tons of damage, of course. And then we're back. So this thing's a little bit annoying where he walks up really, really slowly. All right, so we got the attack down there. Arbiter has enough resistance, accuracy to bring down the duration a little bit. So turn meter boost is happening. And then we're going to, let's go the turn meter boost here. And then back to the cleanse. See how quickly he got his turn back, actually. And then, let's see here. Okay, so we can use sheep to remove all the buffs. All the buffs get removed. That's pretty nice. Really needed that. We can go double hit. Yeah, it's a bit of a mistake to double hit into the shield, of course. Okay. Let's see here. I'm just kind of trying to get through this quickly. And then we can, what? Try to A2 somebody dead? Let's see. Nope. Control again. Anyways, I didn't want to bring a team with like Seer or anything just to prove that without, with Seer it'd probably be too easy, but I just wanted to show how this guy actually performs. He actually does bring a little bit of utility for this dungeon. So if you guys are in a pinch, he's definitely usable in this role just to get the cleanses back, for example, turn meter, healing, survivability. Go extension on our buffs, which is pretty nice. But yeah, you guys can kind of see how it could potentially be the basis for a team. But yeah, keep in mind that this is not a team. It's just to show you guys how exactly his mechanics works in this dungeon. Okay, guys, for the arena, it's actually, he actually has some uses. Like, you think about him as a cleanser, but he actually also has a turn meter boost, right? His turn meter boost can actually be helpful for earlier accounts, for example, that need the turn meter boost to connect with their speed lead, for example, that boosts into their damage dealers. So you guys can kind of see like the teams that I have to work against is actually not really good to showcase Brewguard, because Brewguard's really good against like hard CCs, for example, but he cannot be locked out. His passive gives him turns, but it doesn't give him the ability to use any skills. So if he's locked out, it's actually really, really bad. So you can't play against any lockouts. And you can kind of see, like, based on the teams here, almost every single team has a lockout, which is just not really the best, way to test him. The only team that kind of makes sense is Jacono here. His team kind of makes sense because it doesn't have a lockout, at least. And it does have an R-Mans here. So let's try this team. I have this team set up to go against this team. Basically, I need a way to stop the Narcissus from blowing up our team. But yeah, so this is kind of like the team here, but I also wanted to showcase Brewguard against some debuffs, right? So that he can use his cleanse, particularly against R-Mans, because everyone thinks that his passive can counter R-Mans. Of course, that's not going to be the case here because he doesn't actively remove the debuffs and he still loses the turn meter and all that. So it's not actually the best counter here. So let's see what we can do here. So you guys forget that his A3 is actually a turn meter boost. So it's actually pretty nice to connect, your other champions to your speed lead, for example. So we can go for his turn meter boost. He does increase the buffs and all that stuff too, which is kind of nice. We'll go for block damage, just to protect our team a little bit. And then what are we gonna do here? We're gonna try to nuke down the Wukong there. All right. So let's go turn meter boost again. And now we're protected from the Narcissus. Yay, it worked. But then his R-Mans is coming in here. He's being extra disgusting. Double hit, no cooldown reduction. And then if we place this, it doesn't really help because we have the block buffs going on. So we need to cleanse back ASAP. Wukong coming in with the big smash. And now we are in position to potentially win. We get the cleanse coming off here. And then big smash. But yeah, anyways, we have him basically dead, but I don't want to just kill this run off right away because it's good to test against a team that it kind of works against, but you can kind of see that to get him to really shine, you can't really have him go up against lockout teams, which is kind of, a big disadvantage, right? But in this case, it works out pretty well. The turn meter boost, getting our champions the turns before the other team, which is really nice. Of course, that's going to be applicable for like early game, mid game players as well. And obviously, the cleanse can come in and help against R-Mans or the block buffs, for example, which is very decent. And his A1, obviously, the cooldown reduction can be very strong, as we can clearly see with Ancora and Narcissus. Their combo, their cooldown reduction is very, very strong. So in this case, he is definitely a viable arena champion. He brings some interesting parts in his kit that can maybe help a variety of teams. But I find like at least in the the test server matchups, he was not a viable champion to use against many of these teams. So obviously he's going to be a unique or niche-ish use case. So just make sure you guys bring him in against the proper matchups. All right, guys. So here is another probably more useful case for him. He kind of can work as a sort of Shamail replacement. Kind of not really, but he does gain the turn meter boost from his passive whenever your allies are hard CC'd. So you can see here, stun, freeze, sleep, provoke. And there's a lot of that going on against the Hydra heads. However, he doesn't remove the debuffs like Shamail instantly. He only gets turn meter back so that you can probably get his cleanse back. So it kind of works. I mean, it's going to be a little bit better than most cleansers, but it's not going to be as strong as like Shamail, which instantly removes it. So let's see what happens when we attack with our Brewguard into the Torment. So we attack. So he gets feared, but he gets the turn meter, of course. And then afterwards, let's see what happens when we all attack in to the head of Torment. Let's see what happens. Get a lot of turn meter boost, absolute legend, turn meter boosting. And then he actually had a fear go off. Let's see again. So when the debuff goes off, he gets more turn meter boosting. So his passive's going off again. And now we get a turn back. So because he can't basically prevent himself from being feared, it is a little bit, obviously not as good as Shamail, which instantly removes it. In this case, we do get the full cleanse off and it works. So it might be worth mentioning that maybe he could be better in like this kind of role if he had resistance. So if he had resistance, he could resist, the provoke or for example, from the other heads. But of course, you cannot resist the fear from the head of Torment. So in this case, he's obviously not as good as Shamail, but there probably is some applications where you can actually use him for this role, but he's not going to be as good as Shamail, but he's probably better than just most generic cleansers in this role. Also, I kind of wanted to show you guys that his A1 is actually pretty cool. It's actually, he has an opportunity to decrease the cooldown of an ally skill by 1 turn on each hit. So potentially he can actually, reduce 2 turns on 2 separate, on one single champion, or reduce 2 skills on 2 champions. So for example, if I attack here, attack, we didn't get any kind of bonus there, or for example, we didn't get any kind of reduction there. So it's only a 50% chance on 2 hits, a little bit unlucky there. It's a 75% chance to get at least 1 turn reduction, but we didn't get anything there. I wanted to show you guys this A3, which is actually a pretty decent A3, but unfortunately it's on a 4-turn cooldown, which makes it a little bit less generally good. But you can kind of see here, we have a lot of debuffs on the Hydra heads, and then we have a lot of buffs up. So it's actually pretty good in this situation. So if you use it, all our buffs get extended, and then their debuffs got extended as well. Keep in mind that his A3 does require some accuracy to land the extension on the debuffs. It's not super important, but it is kind of nice, to be honest. And of course, we get a little bit of a turn meter boost as well from his A3. Another good thing about his kit is that he only really has a single target attack on his A1. This means that he can actively avoid the head of Torment if you so need him to, and then of course he can use his cleanse ability like this. So it's actually, his kit works well enough so that he can actually do it, do the cleansing role against head of Torment. So he could be an option for you guys that are like struggling, for example, to find Shamail, or struggling against the head of Torment. So it is definitely a viable kit for that role. Other than that, for Hydra, he just seems like, a decent support. He doesn't bring too much to the table other than the cleanse. But he does bring the A1, potential for double turn cooldown, which is pretty nice. And he brings some turn meter boost, right? So turn meter boost basically means your team has more survivability, it deals more damage, and so forth. And then he does bring a little bit of extra, support from his passive. Like I said, he doesn't actively remove these hard CCs, but he gives himself a chance to come back to remove it as well. He also brings quite a bit of survivability. So he brings the heal and then a shield, which is really nice. So that's kind of something that like people kind of maybe overlooked when they were talking about like Wixwell, that his shield was actually really, really nice just to keep your team topped up and alive. So you can kind of see here, I don't really have, you know, like a revive or anything. So a shield and a heal is very much appreciated. This also means that you probably don't need to put him in some kind of healing gear because he does bring a heal himself and a shield as well. So, you know, his kit, it works. Upon first look, it doesn't look too crazy, but it kind of works pretty okay. But I wouldn't say he's like the best in any kind of role here. But yeah, I just wanted to show you guys that it kind of works pretty well, at least in Hydra here, as a Shamail replacement or a support for Shamail. All right, guys. So another potential combination is actually pairing the Brewguard with the Shamail. This will give your leader quite a bit of turn meter. In this case, it's an interesting combination. We're looking for the Head of Torment right now so we can test this out, but I wanted to show you guys a little bit more of his gameplay, for example. Let's keep the cleanse here so that he doesn't use it without anybody being debuffed. So I actually want to bring some more attention to his A1. His A1 is actually quite solid. You can kind of see there the cooldown reduction. And because of the way that his, you know, because of the way you don't really want to use his cleanse that much, he actually uses A1 quite a lot. And because his A3 is on a 4-turn cooldown, so his A1 actually gets used quite a bit. And it's actually kind of nice. I did mention that we didn't want to underestimate his A1, you know, cooldown reduction. So you can kind of see here, we go back in, double hit, and then you get the cooldown reduction here. So it's actually pretty nice. The double hit makes it a little bit more reliable to land at least one of them. And that's just going to increase the overall power of your entire, you know, your entire team, right? So let's see what we can do against this Head of Torment. So let's say when we go down to 1x speed, we're going to go with the A1. So we got Shamail removing the fear, boosting the turn meter of the leader. And then we have the Brewguard also getting boosted turn meter from the fear as well. So it's quite a bit of stuff going on. Let's see it, the double hit with the A1 here. So you got the double turn meter boost because he's getting feared. But then we got the turn meter boost. You got the fear being removed from the Shamail, which boosts the turn meter of the leader. And then you see he got an extra turn already. So yeah, pretty insane stuff you can definitely do with Shamail if you have a really impactful leader. So the way I have it set up is that I had Necmo in the lead so that he can basically boost the turn meter of the entire team. So your entire team gets more turns and all that. It's actually kind of works pretty well if you don't have an insane Hydra team. If you don't have an insane Hydra team, having more turns for your team keeps them alive, lets them do more damage. But if you have an insane Hydra team, it's probably better to put your best damage dealer in the lead so that your damage dealer gets more smacks in. So if you don't have any trouble with survivability, for example, you can definitely try that. And then do this kind of combination with Shamail and the Brewguard, which is actually, you know, going to give your leader a lot of extra turns, right? You can kind of see here the leader is getting more turns. And then Brewguard's getting more turns, so he's going to be able to boost the turn meter. Yeah, so it's just like a crazy, pretty crazy cycle. But honestly, I'm not too sure what like real life numbers we're talking with, but it's kind of cool to see that there is this kind of a cycling ability going on. So you can kind of see here, Shamail gets the double hit in, and then the double hits boost the turn meter of the leader. You can also make this even more crazier by adding Lydia, because Lydia will respond to the fears coming off and then attack the torment, which gets the fear removed from her, which gets the turn meter to the leader. You can kind of see here, Necmo already got a turn. Like Necmo's gotten, I don't know how many turns, and our Ugo hasn't gotten like a single turn yet. Like Necmo's probably taken like 5 turns and Ugo's just kind of chilling there. Kind of see here. Brewguard's turn meter got boosted like 3 times. And you kind of see the boost turn meter on the Necmo here. All right. And Ugo finally gets a turn. But yeah, like you can kind of see like how this could be cool and could potentially do something really, really nasty. But maybe in this team it's not the best showcase of like overall damage, just because Necmo's just gobbling up all the turns. So you probably want to put like your best damage dealer in the lead to benefit from all the extra turn meter here. Guys, so that's going to be it for the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. In terms of like a verdict, what my overall thoughts are on this champion, I think he is kind of a mid fusion. He's not going to be particularly insane for any account, but I think he's going to benefit definitely early or mid game accounts quite a lot, because obviously a 3-turn cleanse is going to be very, very good. He brings survivability, so any kind of like mid game progression account will benefit from this guy. He does bring the increased buff duration, which could be applicable in some very end game applications, for example Hydra, Wixwell teams, for example. And of course, this kind of turn meter boosting for himself into a cleanse is very, very good as well, just for like general progression. This could be the answer for you for like the Odin dungeon. He could be the answer for you if you don't have a Shemeo against Hydra, for example, so he could be an option there as well. So my verdict, I think generally he's kind of a mid champion. If you need a break, I think skipping him is not going to be the end of the world. Keep in mind his A1 is actually very, very solid. The chance is 50% per hit, double hit, 75% chance of something happening, potentially flip 2 coins, and then you get 2 cooldown reductions on 2 separate champs, or the same champ, for example. Can be pretty impactful, right? But I think overall verdict, I think he's kind of mid. I think if you need a break, he's probably skippable, to be honest. But I think if you can somehow bag him, like maybe early, maybe like a mid-game player, he might be the answer for like a 1 key for you, for example. He's not going to be the best auto option for Hydra, but I think if you need to manual Hydra and you're probably on the cusp of like a 1 key nightmare team, this guy could be the answer, right? He could be the answer. He could be a solution for Torment. He brings cleanse, survivability. He brings extra damage with his A1 as well. And you know, even this buff duration turn meter boost can be okay. And like I said, for Arena, you can definitely just use this turn meter boost just as a way to connect your speed lead into your damage dealers. And he also brings some additional, you know, survivability and versatility with his cleanse as well. So you can use them against like Hegemons and Torments and all that stuff when you're climbing through the arena ranks. Also, the fact that he doesn't require accuracy really to build him out makes him a lot easier to build for most progression accounts. And as you can clearly see, I don't even have masteries on this guy, and he still works very, very okay. Unfortunately, the big thing for him is that he does need some books to be really good, especially this A2. Having it on a 5-turn cooldown cleanse is actually not very good, so he really, really needs the books in this cleanse at the very least. You can get away with no books here, get away with no books here. Even here, you can get away with no books, but I think his A2 definitely needs to be booked down for his faster cleanse ability. But without masteries, I mean, he still works very well, and I don't think he's going to gain too much from masteries, to be honest. So I think keeping him off masteries, if you want to save a little bit of resources, is totally fine. Personally, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick him up just because I have the resources to do so. I will be tracking all the events and all that stuff. So if you guys are coming along for the Fusion ride, definitely tune into the channel for some updates along the way. I'm probably just going to leave him as a fragment champion, and I'll summon him during either CVC or a champion chase that I want to save some shards on. But otherwise, I don't think I would be using him unless there's some kind of craziness that happens with his A3, most likely, or something that happens with his passive. I think potentially there could be something here, like you can boost him up kind of crazy, he gets a turn, and then you can cleanse your whole team. I'm not too sure, honestly. Hopefully somebody in the community can kind of figure out some further uses for him, but I think there may be something here that maybe gives him some future potential. But at this point, I think if you guys need a break, I think it's definitely probably okay to take a break from the fusions, Raid Shadow fusions, and you know, look ahead towards the Halloween fusion perhaps, or either the Freya Deck of Fate that's basically going to come in the month of October. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it for the video. Thank you guys so much for watching till the end. Hopefully this was informative for you guys, and hopefully I helped you guys make your decision for the upcoming fusion coming Monday, September 30th. Once again, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate your time as always, and I'll see you guys in the next video.